And I'd really rather not talk about this, but it does directly affect the movies we're watching right now. And I have had a ton of you guys this morning writing to me about it, so I figured we better address it. You guys will know that there has been brewing and simmering and outright explosive drama going on around the Fast and the Furious franchise, particularly around Tyrese Gibson, who has been publicly attacking Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for a while now because he was doing Hobbs and Shaw. Everybody knows there's been a breakdown in the relationship between Vin Diesel and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. For the most part, those guys keep it offline, though. They don't talk about it publicly, per se, hardly at all. But Tyrese Gibson has been just openly, completely, viciously attacking Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, particularly when a Hobbs and Shaw movie got announced and maybe pushed back Fast and the Furious. What is it? They're going into 9 or 10? 9. Push back Fast and Furious 9 and all this kind of stuff. Then later, I mean, it got ridiculously embarrassing. Then later he revealed, no, I'm just stressed because something to do with custody battle of his kids or something like that and whatever. Well, guess what? Tyrese Gibson is at it again. When the light of Hobbs and Shaw opening to $60 million, which makes it one of the biggest openings of the year, and one of the biggest openings of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's career outside of the Fast and the Furious and all that kind of stuff, still took number one spot at the box office, $180 million worldwide. Tyrese Gibson decided to go online again and slam Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and the studio for this little move of theirs. He went out there, decided to attack them, made fun of the fact that it only made $60 million, all that kind of stuff, and then very, passive-aggressively, sarcastically going, but hey, give credit to Dwayne Johnson. He tried. He tried his best. He tried his best. All right. Look, I'm not going to mince any words here. Last year, when all this nonsense was going on with Tyrese Gibson, I said this, and I firmly stood by it. If you're the studio, you've got to get him the fuck out of your franchise. Get him as far away from your franchise as possible because this guy is cancerous to your franchise. He is a small collection of seemingly insignificant cells that provides no benefit to the growing health of the organism and is actually internally really destructive to the organism that's in and could eventually lead to its demise if not addressed. That's what this guy is within the context of this franchise. And I said at the time, this is not going to stop. This guy has clearly shown that he has a stability issue. And with all the stuff he's saying now, I don't care if he's apologized at this point. I said, this is not going to stop. It will flare up again. He is going to embarrass the franchise. He's going to embarrass the studio, and he's just going to cause internal damage. That's all he's going to do, is cause internal damage at this point. Separate him from this franchise now. They didn't. They kept him on, and all we could go is, well, then God bless. Let's hope it works out. But now it's back at it again. He's back at it again. So right now, you're a studio executive looking at this, and you're thinking, we've got this movie Hobbs and Shaw out in theaters. We're making some money with it. It didn't have as big as an opening as we want. And what do we've got? We've got one of the stars of one of our other movies out here publicly attacking that movie that we're trying to make money on right now, and he's doing this. You know what they do in sports? They call it a destructive locker room, right? When you got somebody in the locker room on your team that is just a disruptive force to your team and is a distraction to your team and takes away from what your team goals are, it doesn't matter how good that player is. You take a scalpel, you cut him out, and you throw that player out. Then maybe they'll do better in another environment, and hopefully they will. But for your team, it's the wrong mix. This guy, by the way, Tyrese Gibson, I just want to remind you, you are a fucking nobody. Okay? And that is coming from somebody who is a bigger nobody than you, and it takes a nobody to recognize a nobody. And brother, you're part of the fraternity. You are a nobody. You know what you've done? If you're going to get on here and run your mouth, you know what you've done for the past 7 years outside of Fast and the Furious? Nothing. You've done nothing in the last 7 years outside of Fast and the Furious. You had Black Nativity, okay. You did a voice spot once on American Dad. Hoorah. You had a small role in Ride Along. Great. For the last 7 years, nobody's wanted to work with you. And you take it upon yourself to come out and damage the studio's property, attack fellow actors and all this kind of stuff, while you are nothing but a coattail riding wannabe. And you're taking it upon yourself to do this. I don't care how far along you are into the filming of Fast 9. If I'm an exec at Universal right now, I get rid of this guy. I get rid of him. You know why? Not just for the sake of Hobbs and Shaw, not just for the sake of the future of my franchise, but because I've got other people in these movies, like a Vin Diesel, like a Ludacris, like a Michelle Rodriguez, who are just busting their asses trying to do what's best for the team and make things work without being destructive behind the scenes, like a Tyrese Gibson. And when you look at people like this in incredible positions of privilege, especially when it's somebody who's just riding the coattails of Fast and Furious success and has no career of his own to speak of outside of it, coming out and damaging the property and damaging the brand, it's frustrating as hell as a fan. As a fan, it's frustrating as hell. Shut your mouth. It's just unbelievable. And it's frustrating to me to see this kind of bullshit. Anyway, Rob, you got any thoughts on this?
I choose to believe that he's just method. That he hones the character of Roman in real life. And it sort of helps him with his process. It's what he's doing. No, to be honest, I like his character in the Fast franchise, but I find this kind of behavior destructive. If you're being paid to do a job, you're being paid to do a job both, I think, publicly, out in the press. That's part of what you do as an actor. They pay you for publicity as well. And what he's doing... I understand there's a lot of resentment. If you were in a franchise, and he was in the franchise since Too Fast, Too Furious, the second film in the franchise, and you watch these two ne'er-do-wells who come in late, Johnny-come-latelys, get to make a movie in Hobbs and Shaw, there's probably a lot of resentment there. But on the other hand, Jason Statham and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson have a long, profitable history in the movie business. And it ain't show friends, John. It's show business. That's what I always say. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. And those are rules to live by. And he's not doing that. I think that these kinds of public feuds, when you're not out there supporting your team, and let's face it, it does say Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. You're all part of the same team. A win for one team is a win for the whole team. And I think it's bad form.
And I think somebody needs to remind this guy that the Fast and Furious was a middling franchise at best until Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came around in Fast and Furious 5, and that's when the box office started to take off. Now, I'm certainly not suggesting that a Tyrese Gibson or anybody should walk around and kiss Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's ass, by no stretch of the imagination. But I'm just thinking, if I'm a studio exec, and watching a star in one of my movies, attacking one of the stars of one of my other movies, and deliberately trying to undermine my project, it's like, oh, I'm paying you money? Not anymore, I'm not. Get off my lot. I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting to it a little bit.
What I was going to say, there's a minor league baseball movie that was made in the early 90s called Pastime. And it's about an over-the-hill pitcher. And the coach in the movie tells this over-the-hill pitcher something that I've applied to all aspects of my life. And he said, the coach says, it doesn't matter how good somebody else is. It doesn't make you any better or any worse. And I think Tyrese Gibson should do well to heed those words. How well Hobbs and Shaw is doing doesn't affect him, but it might affect his franchise, which then could affect him.
So, Aaron, look, I mean, at the risk of putting you on the spot, because you're in a precarious position, you are an actress, you are in the business, and I'm sure probably you've seen things like this before. But anyway, what's your initial response and reactions and thoughts on this?
Well, my initial response is, well, first of all, I'm still clutching my pearls over all the things that you said. I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't seen John Campea like that in a long time. There's not much more that I can add to this, but I do think that there is a certain responsibility that you have when you are a public figure. It's really easy. We get heated and, we go on Twitter, but it's one thing to attack a situation. I know a lot of people over this weekend, because of the shootings that happened, have gone out on Twitter and Instagram, whatever, and they're mad about things that are happening politically. But when you're like you've already said, when you're attacking people that you work with, and you're taking personal feuds that may be happening on set, and you're broadcasting them, you're then inviting everyone else to have a commentary about it, and you're putting yourself in a position for everyone to start taking arrows at you. So I just think that it's best, like, there's plenty of actors that I've worked with, and I've talked to both of you about certain actors that I no longer wish to work with, and directors and things like that, but you just don't say those things publicly. There's a professionalism about it, and the fact that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Vin Diesel have had issues between the two of them that they've never spoken publicly about it. That's what a star does. That's what someone who is a professional does. And yeah, I think that Tyrese really is only showing that he doesn't have that. He's not clearly a professional. Otherwise, he would know that Twitter is not the place to air that kind of those kind of opinions.
Yeah, and the additional unfortunate thing here too is, I mean, who's going to want to work with him moving forward? Knowing that anything that goes on, like whether you're a producer or a fellow actor or whatever, if anything goes on, this guy's going to start broadcasting.
Yeah, that he takes to Twitter.
Yeah, he's going to take it to social media and start running out. And
it's very dangerous.
This again goes back to something, Rob, that you and I have talked about before. The moment I get out of being 10th level nobody and maybe up to like 5th level nobody, I am hiring a social media person, because I don't think any famous athlete, actor, whatever, who's so in the public eye like that, I think everybody, I've said this before, should have somebody that if I want to send a tweet, I write up a tweet and I hit send, it actually gets held until my social media manager can see it, because they have no bias, they have a fresh set of eyes, and say, hey, actually, before we put this public, boss, this could come across like this, and have somebody to actually act a little bit as that filter between the brain and the mouth, because sometimes, like me, that filter doesn't work, right? And you're not thinking about the grander picture, and you put up something that you instantly regret. And I just think if you're rich enough, hire some university kid part-time to just take a look at your social media posts before you post them. Protect yourself, protect your properties, protect everybody else around you. And maybe protect your future, because at this point, I just don't know who's going to want to work with this guy.
The drafts folder is a really good thing.
The drafts folder is a great thing.
I have definitely, because that's what I do is Tom now, because I've posted some things that I've later had to pull down. Nothing as egregious as that, and I don't have the same following, so it doesn't matter. But Tom is usually a really good person to go, why don't you sleep on that? And then the next morning he's like, yeah, you don't need to post that.
I'm enjoying your Twitter feed.
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, well, mine is very ranty right now, but yeah.
All right, guys. Question is, what
Thank
do you
you.
make of this whole situation? You just want it to go away like me? Or any other thoughts you might have, jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that